Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello and welcome to the Extreme Sports Performance Podcast. My name is Ryan Blake. I'm the founder and director of Extreme Sports Performance, as well as the host of this show. The mission of this is to empower high-performing action and endurance sports athletes to elevate their competitive edge through advanced performance protection and opportunity-driven systems. By harnessing the expertise, insights and strategies of real-world professionals to help athletes release limits and unlock potential to achieve peak performance in their sport. The vision of this is to be the ultimate resource for adrenaline junkies and weekend warriors, providing practical applied sports science strategies to overcome challenges and solve problems without sacrificing personal well-being. We strive to build a thriving community of extreme sports enthusiasts who embrace the balance between pushing the boundaries and maximising enjoyment in what they love to do. In this episode, I'm speaking with Ross James. Ross is a professional surfing and fitness coach, as well as the founder of Surf Academy UK. We discuss Ross's journey to date, the physical and mental demands of surfing techniques and favourite spots in the world, surfing challenges and perseverance, surfing training and conditioning, consistency and enjoyment in surfing, and much more. Okay, here we go. Ross, welcome to the Extreme Sports Performance Podcast. It's a pleasure to have you on your show. Please can you start by letting everyone know who you are, what you do, and a little bit about your journey?
Cool. Cheers, Ryan. Yeah, so my name's Ross James. I'm the founder of Surf Academy UK, and it is what it says on the tin, really. Surf coaching, fitness, and everything just to help so your average Joe get better at the sport they love. So I didn't come from a fitness background. I came from a surfing background. Some friends got me into it when I was about 18, so back in 2003. And yeah, just sort of took over, really. Avoided any sort of real responsibility for years, chasing the waves, a little bit cliche. And then I was coaching out in Portugal in 2011 and got a lot of people asking, how do you stay fit in between surfs? And at the time, I had no idea. I was doing whatever jobs were going. I cycled a lot, and a lot of the work I done was physical labour. So that kept me in pretty good shape. So yeah, it became a mission then, come back, got my personal training qualification. So that was 2012. And then, yeah, just kept pushing through, really. Ran a company called Ocean Core Fitness for a few years. And then as COVID hit, everything sort of disappeared. I took a little bit of time to reflect. What did I want to do? Saw the likes of Cale Brock and other sort of online trainers, coaches in different disciplines, and thought, let's go down that route a little bit. So that's what I'm doing. Online coaching, still do face-to-face sessions and surf development retreats. So yeah, that's Surf Academy in a nutshell.
Awesome. And whereabouts are you based at the moment?
So predominantly down in Cornwall. I have traveled a little bit. So over the last couple of years, I've had retreats over in Portugal, and I've also worked at, it's not both the wave pools now, they've changed. So I worked at the Wave in Bristol, and I also had the opportunity briefly to work at Surf Snowdonia before it closed down in 2022. Wouldn't mind having a little go up at Lost Shore. Looks a little bit bigger, better, longer waves. Although they are still running in the snow. A friend put a video up the other day and it looks absolutely Baltic. Yeah. So yeah, maybe springtime. But yeah, so yeah, predominantly Cornwall, but I travel to the clients as well.
Amazing. Well, thanks for sharing that. So why surfing then? What initially drew you to this sport?
Uh, well, like a lot of people, especially 20 years back when coaching wasn't really a thing, not at least in the UK.
Yeah.
Just headed down the beach a few weekends with my mate and got thrown on a bodyboard, left to sort of do what I wanted to do in a shore break, took a pound in, and for whatever sadistic reason, like most people, you just sort of progress onto a bigger board. And that was it, really. I think it's a constant challenge, like a lot of extreme sports and anything where you go sideways, it throws your balance off, and you got to figure out how long. Oh, I want to stay on a little bit longer. I want to go a little bit further.
Yeah.
And yeah, 20 years or 20 so years on, and still doing it.
Awesome. So could you give the listeners a little bit of an idea then about like the physical demands of surfing and like the challenges it presents, and then like the fitness that is really required in order to be successful at it and do it properly?
Yeah, so as much as you can do, really. Surfing's a very, very dynamic sport. It requires your entire body and your mind. There's so much in terms of mental preparedness, especially if you're going out on a busy day or a bigger day. But in terms of the physical demands, you've got some serious paddling to do. Once you're up on a wave, you need to have some good leg endurance and strength. It requires so much sort of prehab work in terms of your joints because of positions you get into. Surfing, I would say, like again, sideways sports like kite surfing, skating, and so forth, you are one side dominant, and it causes a lot of imbalances. So just going out and doing 100 reps with a resistance band isn't really going to be your entire program. It actually goes into a lot more detail. So a very varied program of strength and conditioning for upper body, lower body, and really learning about your sets and reps and strength endurance rather than just endurance, just strength, just hypertrophy. You have to go into a little bit of detail with it.
Yeah, sure. I guess that's just scratching the surface too, because everyone's different and there's more than one type of surfing, depending on where you are and the waves and the weather and the climate and the environment. So we can dive deeper into that later. So we've just touched upon like the physical demands. What are the mental demands, which is maybe an area that people overlook?
So, yeah, I mean, an obvious one is when it gets big, or when it gets a bit stormy, conditions aren't perfect, which, let's face it, it's the UK.
Hmm.
It's not been too bad on the north coast of Cornwall today. It's been quite offshore. However, you go down to the south coast, it'll be pretty much onshore. So it's getting your head in the right space for it. Now, surfing I've found is quite a meditative thing because you're so hyper focused on what you're doing, just because surfing is an extreme dangerous sport. You can't be focusing too much on, oh, where am I going to take the kids this weekend? Oh, I've got to get that deadline sorted at work, and oh, the missus jumping down my throat and all that sort of jazz. You are, like I say, hyper focused. And but then the other side of the scale is, and I find this with a lot of sort of female clients, is the crowds, especially if it's a male dominant one. Um, I hope this doesn't come across as sexist. It's just what I found over the years. A lot of women struggle to deal with going out somewhere like North Fistral, where it is male dominant. There's a lot of really, really high level surfers. The Groms coming through that are scarily good at the age of 10. And it takes over. And you think, well, can I really get in? And your head starts going into that place. So yeah, crowds, size, rips, local dangers, all of that. It all plays a massive part.
Yeah, sure. I can imagine. And you mentioned earlier on about like the different types of conditions, onshore, offshore. Could you just give the listeners a little bit of a basic overview behind like the meteorology behind surfing and like how the weather can affect it and what's good and what you'd want and what's bad and what you want to try and avoid?
So generally you've got, with the winds, you have onshore and offshore. So onshore is the wind going from the sea to the land, and then offshore is vice versa, going from land to sea, sort of as it warms up. Uh, Depending on the type of surfing you're doing, generally offshore is a cleaner surf, cleaner wave. It looks prettier. So when you see a spray coming off the back of the wave and someone's in the barrel and it's all lovely and postcard, that's an offshore wave. However, if you are an aerialist, so if you're generating speed, coming off the top of the wave, doing a little flip trick and landing back down, that quite often you want a slight or light onshore wind, because that helps keep you above the lip rather than being pushed over the back of the wave. You've got a few different types of wave, so that's all down to the seabed. So it could be a sand bottom, which means generally a beach break. Point breaks can also be sand bottom. They just break off a headland or some kind of point. And then you've got reef breaks, slabs. They all break different ways. Slabs and reefs are generally a lot more mechanical. So if you go somewhere like Hawaii, the famous one's Pipeline, that breaks over a shallow reef. Chopu, which was Tahiti in the Olympics this year, that's reef break. And then slabs are just a whole nother thing. And to be honest, unless you've got a screw loose, you're probably not going to be surfing a slab anytime soon. Sure. But yeah, that's pretty much how they work. So swells are formed out to sea from different weather patterns, tsunamis or hurricanes over in the States. A lot of our swell will come from that, especially this time of the year. And yeah, so you'll have wave period and so forth, but without going too deep into the science of that, the longer the period between the waves, the better the wave is going to be. So if you've got an 8-second wave period, they're going to be quite close together, which means they don't have time to form. You're going to get a very messy, sort of not a pretty looking wave. You can surf it, probably won't be as much fun. Whereas if you got something like a 15-second wave period, it's going to be very busy. But you're going to have a much cleaner, nicer looking wave, which allows you to have a bit more fun, longer rides, and all of that.
Awesome. That's really interesting. Thanks for sharing that. And there are more than one different type of board you can use for surfing. Would you mind just giving the listeners a little bit of an overview on how that works and explain a little bit more behind that?
Yeah, so people might have heard the term Malibu board. That's a longboard. So, and that is definitely the route I would convince most people to start with. Mm-hmm. Basically, the more volume in your board, the easier it is to paddle and catch waves. And so you catch more waves. Therefore, the more waves you catch, more repetition, essentially, more fun you're going to have, and the faster you're going to progress. However, if, like a lot of people, you just want to look really cool, then you can go for a short board straight away. You're going to struggle. But the difference being, although longboards have become a lot more performance orientated now, they are generally more of a classic style. So you'll see people cruising on the wave, just trimming up and down, nice and smooth, long drawn out turns, maybe cross stepping up and down the board and looking very stylish. A short board, generally under, say, 6'6", down to whatever 5'5", maybe, that's more high performance. So because it's smaller, it fits into the shape of the wave better and allows you to do more radical maneuvers in a tighter area. So the whole goal behind the wave, behind surfing, is to stay close to the curl or the breaking part of the wave. So you've got the white water, you've got a bit of a face along here, so you'll come out, you'll cut back to the curl and so forth. A short board allows you to do that with speed and get a lot more vertical on the wave. Whereas a longboard, they're 9 foot plus in terms of competition. So that's a lot harder to maneuver than, say, a 5'10" board. You've then got lots in between. Fishes, mid-lengths, mini mows. Then you go into the whole SUP surfing, which is stand-up paddleboard surfing. That can go down to, I think, generally 7, 6, 8 foot, right up to 14, 15 foot ocean going races. So yeah, there's a lot in between, and you got bodyboarders as well and body surfing. So yeah, it's nice because it's probably one of the most diverse sports in terms of equipment.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. It's awesome. I'm sure the listeners will find out valuable. I've learned some things there, so that's really, really good of you to share. So you mentioned that you've surfed a couple of different places around the world. Where is your favourite place to surf, or the best place you've ever surfed at the moment?
So, favourite place would be Portugal. It's up and coming in terms of surfing, although obviously surf's never not been there. It's really been put on the map the last sort of 10 years because the CT moved to Super Tubos. In terms of big wave surfing, obviously.
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Devon's Andrew Cosson has made Nazare quite famous in the UK. And there's been a lot about Nazare in the last probably 4 or 5 years. Quite a new big wave spot. Best place, probably Bali, just for consistency, although it is getting incredibly busy. But Indonesia in general, I do want to do a bit more island hopping and get on a boat and just explore a lot more of Indonesia. So yeah, they're probably my 2 favorite spots.
Amazing. No, really cool. Thanks for sharing that. So what would you say like the main lessons you've learned from surfing are, and how have they possibly applied to other areas of your life?
Stay humble.
Yeah.
Start. And that obviously transfers to any area of your life. No one likes anyone too cocky. So, yeah, just stay humble, enjoy yourself in the water. For me, I get paid to coach. I don't get paid to surf. I'm not a sponsored athlete. And at 40, I'm probably not going to be now. So, I'm not out there to prove to anyone how good I am or what my intentions are. With that, I go out, I enjoy it, especially at the moment. Weekends are really the only time I can get out. So cliche weekend warrior, but it is what it is. Perseverance, any of that. Like at the end of the day, you've got lots of challenges in the water. You've got rip currents trying to pull you one direction whilst you're trying to get the other. And then you've got walls of white water. You've got other surfers out there to avoid. And I think it's one of the best examples of life that you can get. There's so many obstacles, challenges, different routes you can take, and not necessarily knowing what the best route is or what the route you should take is. So, yeah, I think, yeah, perseverance and planning ahead as much as possible. If you just jump in the sea without knowing, if you go to a new break and you don't know the layout, you don't know where the rips are, you could get yourself into a spot bother pretty quick. Yeah. Whereas if you sort of spend 10, 15 minutes having a bit of a warm up, which is another interesting topic for surfers, then you can see where the rips are. You can see where everybody else has paddled out, where the locals have been paddling out, and you can figure out where to go. So planning ahead in life as well, I think it's definitely the way to go.
Yeah, that makes lots of sense. And it's a great metaphor as well. I really like that. That's really cool. So has your perspective on risk changed at all? Or has it evolved throughout your kind of career in this sport?
I think over time, you just learn to make more calculated risks, don't you? It's all down to experience. Sometimes you do want to go in like a ball in a China shot, but generally that doesn't really get you anywhere. So looking at the situation, having a bit of savvy about you and drawing on experience and history can help you make a much better decision, I think.
Yeah, sure. No, that makes lots of sense. And what would you say What would you say the most surprising or unexpected aspect of surfing is that outsiders might not know about or be that aware of?
I think it's how long it takes to actually progress in the sport. So,
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. When I was working on surf camps full time, I could take someone that's never surfed in their life, and they could be doing cutbacks by the end of the week. Now, if you show that to someone who's never surfed before, and the one of the rare few that hasn't seen Point Break or Chasing Mavericks, they might go, "Oh, well, all they're doing is sort of turning back to the white wall. So what's so hard about that?" You think, well, it's a lot of paddling out. That's a lot of waves to duck dive. That's a lot of endurance to build up, strength, knowledge, and yeah, there's so much involved. Surfing is probably one of the most what I class as a long-term hobby if you want to get sort of any good at it. Football, tennis, anything like that. There's stuff you can do on your own that is very sport specific. You can go outside, you can do kick me ups, you can kick the ball against the wall. Tennis, same thing. There's a lot you can practice, whereas surfing is Mother Nature. And although we're getting better with the surf forecasts, it's still not perfect. And yeah, there's so much involved that it makes it incredibly hard to get any good at. That's why we all keep disappearing off to Indonesia and Costa Rica and all these warm places where you can surf a lot more consistently.
Yeah, sure. That makes lots of sense, and it's like, I mean, I've grown up with board sports myself, like surfing, snowboarding, wakeboarding, skateboarding, and I picked it up reasonably quick as a kid. But there was a point very quickly I got to where I plateaued because I started doing it less, and that's when I just didn't progress. So I guess like that investment in time is something which is obvious, but also overlooked by lots of people as well.
That's it.
Yeah. So what did you say? I mean, you mentioned the Olympics earlier. What would you say it takes someone to be world class at surfing?
For starters, to be on the board when you're still in a nappy,
Yeah.
it's having, and it's not even just the sport itself. I think having that awareness of the ocean from such a young age will help. I mean, like I said, I didn't start surfing until I was 18, but I swam since I was 5. I grew up in Southampton, just in a village outside. So I had the Solent right there. It's not dream location for water, but being one of the busiest shipping lanes in Europe. But I knew about rips. I knew how to survive in the water. I've been used to small waves. So I think if someone's wants to make a go of it or have their child make a go of it, you need to obviously get close to the beach. You need to be in that water on a weekly basis, if not most days, and just be consistent. And again, that transfers to life. You're not going to get anywhere if you're not consistent. So if there's no surf for a few weeks, you need to get training. You need to keep going, or you need to get on a plane and go to where there is surf. And you look at Lucas Skinner, he's the newest thing coming out of the UK at the moment in terms of surfing since Luke Dillon. And he's just won the Grom Search for a second year in a row. But he surfs all the time. His dad, Ben Skinner, got him on a skateboard and a surfboard sort of probably before he could speak properly. And it shows. He's now, like I say, one of the first kids in about 10 years to really put the UK surf scene on the map.
Yeah.
And that is consistent dedication in the water whenever there's waves, where it's good, bad, sunny, snow, hail. You've just got to be out there doing it.
Yeah, sure thing. So what would you say you see surfers do well and helps them get better? And what would you say on the flip side, you see surfers do not so well, which kind of holds them back?
Training. At the end of the day, And that's the trouble with surfing and a lot of extreme sports is you look back at these in the 90s and it was definitely a lifestyle, but probably wasn't the healthiest. Lots of parties, alcohol and whatever else getting thrown around. And it's kind of carried on sort of like that nonchalant, it's just a hobby. I'm just going to go out Friday night and then get up and push through for a surf the next day. But if you want to really progress at any sort of rate, or if you are looking at doing any sort of competition, and you need to just take it a little bit more seriously. And like you, I'm 40 next year.
Mhm.
I'm a PT, aspiring S&C coach, but your body is still going to get on. You need to be warming up. You need to be sorting out them imbalances. And like any sport, it does take a toll on the body. So you need to be looking after that. I think that's where most people let themselves down. So, yeah, I say training really sets apart those that want to surf for longer, not just per session, but in life, and those that don't really.
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Sure thing. I completely relate to that. As we spoke about earlier, I used to wakeboard to a pretty high level when I was younger, and being a very naive young male, didn't really do anything other than just wakeboard all the time, and didn't warm up properly, didn't cool down properly, didn't really do any form of strength training. The only training was more wakeboarding, and at the time it was good, and I got away with it, but then as I got older, things started to go wrong, started to break down physically, had injuries, had accidents, and they've still kind of give me trouble today. Like some of the injuries I got when I used to do extreme sports in my youth, I still have to manage today because I just didn't approach them properly. I didn't understand the physical demands, didn't really respect like how it could affect the body and also the mind, like later on in life. So really good advice there. And I would highly recommend anyone listening to take that advice from Ross and I, because it will stand you in good stead if you still have years on your side.
Yep.
Cool. So just a couple more questions, Ross, just to kind of wrap up this awesome talk. Like, what would you say your kind of top piece of advice would be for someone who has never surfed before, but really wants to get started and they have no idea where to go next?
Just book a week or two, somewhere warm where you're going to enjoy it, maximize the fun that's going to come from learning to surf. As I said earlier, it's a long-term hobby. You're not going to just pick it up overnight. You might get to your feet pretty quick, but that's when you start learning how to surf. So, yeah, I found people progress the most when they book onto a surf camp or a retreat, or just spend a full week or 10 days or so committed to it. So, for example, the trips I've got, you come on board, we surf all week, we have video analysis every day. So you're getting that consistent feedback, not just in the water, but you sit down in the evening and we'll go, right, here's where you need to lean more. Here's where you need to keep your eye line and so forth. Good food, training, and lots of coaching. And yeah, I mean, if you don't enjoy a full week in the sun and the water on the surfboard, it's probably not for you. Because I don't really know anyone that's not enjoyed that. So
yeah, sure thing. And that makes lots of sense. It's like anything, isn't it? If you really focus and fully apply yourself to improving that one thing with minimal distractions, and the progression's gonna be gonna be there naturally, isn't it? So that makes lots of sense. And whilst we're on the topic of advice, if there are surfers listening who have been surfing for a while, they're intermediate to advanced level, it's winter, as we mentioned earlier. It's not as easy to get into the water in the winter time for various reasons, like the temperature, obviously, but also the conditions aren't as good, and the light as well. So what would be your advice to the intermediate advanced surfers who can't surf as much but want to improve? For instance, what physical stuff could they do like right now, which would make them better in the kind of more preferable conditions later on in the year?
Get yourself a strength and conditioning program for sure. It's not only going to help your own body and look after yourself into old age and all that, but in terms of sport specific, you need to just go and look into the biomechanics of it. You don't have to delve too deep. I'm not saying you got to learn how to do Olympic lifts, although there is some really good crossover with that. Get fit, utilize the dark evenings. I finish work at 5 o'clock. It's already dark. I don't have my own supply of floodlights, so I'm in the gym 3 times a week.
Yep.
Working on just even basic intervals on the rower or the ski erg, which is, when that come out, that was an absolute godsend for surfers, not just skiers. So, but yeah, strengthen your body. What hurts when you get out of a surf? Learn how to put together a little warm up. And I was going to mention this earlier. The warm up is vital. I said about looking at the waves, looking at where you need to paddle out and judging conditions that day. That's when you can be doing your warm up. So, but yeah, get a strength and conditioning program, get training, a decent winter wetsuit, and if you've got the funds, get yourself south of the equator and get some nice warm waves.
Yeah, sure thing. Well, that's awesome, Ross. Thanks lots for sharing that with everybody. There's loads of golden nuggets that I've taken away, and I'm sure the listeners have too. For those who are listening, who really like this conversation, they'd love to know more about you, more about what you do. They might have some follow-up questions. They might even want to kind of book themselves on a camp with you next year. Like, what would be the best way for them to do that and get in touch?
Just go on the social, look for Surf Academy UK or the website surfacademyuk.com. Nice and simple. Feel free to reach out. I've got a free community channel, any UK surf group on Facebook. You'll generally see one of my posts on a weekly basis. So, yeah, feel free to reach out. And I've got multiple trips coming up in the new year and private bespoke weekends as well.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much for your time. It was a pleasure having you on.
Thanks, Ryan.
Would you like to leave the listeners with any kind of takeaways, anything that's kind of recent or you've learned this year that it doesn't necessarily have to apply to surfing, can apply to life or apply to both, that you maybe want to share?
Yeah, just keep doing what you want to do. We've all got to work, but find something you enjoy, which is what I'm doing. And even with surfing, just stay consistent, find the fun in it, and don't take everything too seriously.
Sound advice. I think we all need to listen to that advice like that more often, myself included. Ross, thanks again, and I hope you have a great rest of 2024 and an awesome 2025, and thanks for being on the show.
You too. Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks for listening to this episode. We hope you enjoyed the show. It would be really helpful if you could please leave a rating and or review on whatever platform you're listening on. Is there someone you know who would benefit from hearing what you've just heard? Then share the love by sending them a link. Be sure to check out our website www.extremesportsperformance.com that has details about the ESP blog, more information about this podcast, taking our performance overview online assessment, joining our online extreme sports community, our online training programs, our online nutrition plans, our flagship online athletic development coaching program, our in-person consultancy services, and how to get in touch if you have any questions. Follow us on social media at LinkedIn, Instagram, Threads, Facebook and YouTube. Links to these can be found at the bottom of all of our web pages and via any search engine. Until next time, go well.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.